Hi, folks. I'm Father Joe Grimaldi. You can call me Joe, and I'd like to welcome you to my podcast. But now, here's our host and friend, Ken Calvert.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ken Calvert alongside my very, very dear friend and cocktail party host, Father Joe Grimaldi. Let me just start by saying that we would like to thank Hoot and McInerney, Star Lincoln at 12 Mile Road and Telegraph in Southfield, our proud new sponsor. And by the way, friends, if you mention that you heard about Star Lincoln on the Father Joe podcast, you will receive additional savings. That's Hoot McInerney, Star Lincoln, 12 Mile Road and Telegraph in Southfield. You had a great party the other night. He had a bunch of us over, a bunch of high school guys from 1969 and 70 along with our wives. You hosted, you had a great time, and it was a wonderful party. Thank you.
It just was great to reconnect.
You came through the door going, I had a great time.
I did.
Yeah, wasn't it fun?
It was great to reconnect. It really was.
And you know what we did, folks? You should realize this. You have this cute little sunroom on the backside of your home, and we all gathered. It was a giant circle, and people just peppered you
with questions.
And you held up. You held up beautifully.
Yeah, I thought we were doing a podcast.
Well, you know what? I have this new toy that I'm going to bring next time
to the next gathering.
We missed some gold on that one.
Yeah, I think so.
And I also want to mention one other thing that a good friend of mine called me yesterday and said, I was listening to your podcast and you were talking about the Pope and I think the topic, Ken, was don't be a Christian parrot. Don't just go to Mass and then thump your chest. Go out and do some good deeds. And you had mentioned how important it is to just pick up the phone and call a relative, somebody,
sure.
An older relative. It'll make their day. Or visit somebody. And he said, I stopped by and visited with my mother-in-law, who's getting up there in years, and she had a wonderful day with me, and I feel like $1 million.
Yeah, and just making a phone call sometimes could do the same thing.
Yeah, so there you go.
Those people are very lonely when they're in a nursing home or that kind of a situation.
Well, here's what I want to know. I'm going to bring something personal to the podcast, if you don't mind.
No.
My wife went to lunch yesterday with family members that are scattered all about the state, and they all met, I believe, somewhere in Brighton, Michigan. And it came up that, and I won't mention her name, I'll just say that it was Mary. And Mary's husband was just diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And it's probably not good. That's not a good cancer. There's no good cancer. They are going to a shrine, which is called the National Shrine of Our Lady of Good Help in Champion, Wisconsin. Apparently, they're hoping for, and they will go there and pray for a miracle. Do you believe in miracles?
Of course I do.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is impossible with God. However, we have to keep in mind that God always, through Scripture, has told us He helps those who help themselves. First, we have to look at every possibility of finding the right healing. I always look at it this way, having worked on canonizations, I think that very often today's impossible cure becomes 10 years from now's very possible cure, because all of the abilities that God has given us, all the scientific advancements that we have made because of our gifts that we have in research and things of this sort, allow us to develop more as time goes on. And we can come up with cures that years ago did not exist.
Right.
So years ago, if somebody did the right thing, a doctor did the right thing, and there was a healing, wow, it's a miracle. And of course it's a miracle. But by the same token, that very same type of illness today, maybe 30 years later, is easily cured by a certain type of medication, whatever the case might be. Mm-hmm. So we have to realize that part of it first. The other thing, too, if we go back to Scripture, and I like to always base everything on Scripture, if we go back to Scripture, we find that Jesus never did a healing without a serious meaning, a deeper meaning. For example, in healing the blind man, well, he healed him only after he healed his faith, after he healed the hurt that was going on within him. And then he finally could see, and he could understand, and he could see who he was talking with, Jesus, and so on. The same thing happens in other miracles where the paraplegic is given over to Jesus for the healing. Well, the poor guy was suffering from all sorts of guilt within himself. And of course, Jesus speaks to him and heals that guilt that's within. And if that guilt is healed from within, then the physical miracle occurs afterwards. So I guess what I'm trying to say, we have a lesson from Jesus himself where he does not heal to show off. He heals people to bring across a deeper sense of what the person is going through. So it's true healing. I mean, I know simple, now we talk about simple things. When you go to the hospital and you make someone smile, who's in the bed with pain, you relieve that pain in so many ways by causing that smile. So in a sense, you and I, all of us, have the power of healing if we take advantage of those simple things. Going to visit somebody at the hospital, telling someone a nice little joke and getting that person to look in a positive side of thing where that person could smile. And there's a healing that's occurring there that we cannot imagine. It's not a physical healing, but it's certainly a healing of the insides of that individuals. So when you said people are going to a certain shrine in
the National Shrine of Our Lady of Good Help, it's in Champion, Wisconsin.
Well, they're going there to pray. Well, their faith hopefully will cause some sort of a cure or healing. But maybe not. Maybe it'll be a different kind of thing. So I do believe in miracles because nothing is impossible with God. But ordinarily, that's not the way Jesus works.
I like the component that you attach to that in terms of the research, and the amount of research that's done can be referred to as a miracle. Take polio. When I was a kid, there was a friend of mine that was in a wheelchair. He had polio. Polio's gone. It's been eradicated. When you think about the ability for us now to go to a corner drugstore and get a shingles shot, get a flu shot, get a pneumonia shot, things that would take massive numbers of lives hundreds of years ago, and not that long ago, 50 years ago. So I think there's a miracle within the body of science as well.
Oh, I think there is. You and I and everybody else is gifted. We have different kinds of gifts. And sometimes we have these directly or indirectly. Indirectly is because of the studies we've done, the type of work that we do, and so on and so forth. God is working through all of these scientific advancements so that we could do our work in a better way. There are situations, they're rare, when you have an individual who can literally do a healing, a miracle if you want. But ordinarily, God works through the gifts that he has given you and me. And these gifts have to be developed because the scientist has it within his power because of his ability that was given to him by God to develop all sorts of cures for the future.
And maybe that was the miracle in itself, and that person decided to get into research in that area to find and help so many people that have suffered from that particular malady. For example, when people have fun runs or whatever it might be to benefit a cause, that again is, and I think we can say this maybe, or I'll let you say it because I can't.
No, that's fine.
Maybe that's God working in another miraculous way.
There's no question, and as usual, you always say it so beautifully. No, I mean that. I really do. It's a perfectly stated situation. I think God does work in so many different ways that we take for granted. And, when things happen, oh, my God, we don't realize what's led up to those things. God has given us gifts, either directly or indirectly. You say, well, how come somebody's wealthy, somebody isn't? Well, maybe somebody hasn't developed his own skills in making himself wealthy, or sometimes the gifts that a person has, physical gifts like wealth, have been given to that person directly from family and things of this sort.
Right.
But either way, God works through other people.
And those people that may have been gifted to have that wealth should indeed attach it to, and most do, philanthropic areas that will assist in the advancement of the start of a miracle.
I'm very much with you on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now listen, here's the second part of this then. People go to Lourdes, or they go to these various shrines. I think some people may hope for an instant miracle. They may see, and I'm not sure I'm a big fan of this part, where there are canes left behind. How do you feel? You're in canon law. It says JCL after your name. So you're part of the verification process of suggesting that, yes, that was a miracle?
Well, of course.
Okay.
But it's a very long process because the Catholic Church does not want to be laughed at, okay?
Of course not.
And so what I'm saying is...
We've had enough of that.
Yeah, we do. So what I'm saying is this. Whenever anybody claims to have been miraculously cured, there is a thorough and very long investigation that occurs. Obviously, you have to speak to all the doctors. Obviously, you have to make sure that if there are any x-rays, they have to be examined. We have to establish that this particular illness truly existed. We have to establish that because of prayer and because of a certain visit to a holy place, this has been helping for the cure that occurred. I mean, it's a very long type of investigation. For example, I was involved with the investigation of the second miracle of Father Damien the leper, a very popular saint. But the woman who claimed to have had this miracle had dealt with at least 13 different doctors. And we had to interview each one of them, so much so that there was documentation from each one, I would say at least an inch thick, okay, in paper from each one. There were a couple of hours of investigation and questioning, and you had all of the doctors that dealt with the individual, whether it be an oncologist, a surgeon, an anesthesiologist, so on, all of the doctors that dealt with this particular woman. X-rays had to be examined. After all of that investigation took place, it was packed neatly and then sealed in wax and then sent to Rome. And then there's another investigation that takes place. It's only then that we have what you call a formal miracle. A miracle did take place, and this is it. But otherwise, we can trust that because of a person's faith, a person has been healed, and that can happen as well. But to call it a formal miracle, they have to go through the process of the investigation. So I think depending on how you deal with it, then I could give you a better answer.
Isn't it a little scary, though, if somebody goes to Lourdes or they visit the National Shrine of Lady of Good Help? And I certainly encourage people to visit that shrine.
When we speak about a shrine, a shrine is very difficult to define because a shrine is just a holy place, basically, where people can come and pray. The designation is not the same as cathedral or basilica and so on. A shrine is a shrine. For example, when we were kids, in the classroom in the Catholic schools, we were told to do a shrine to the Blessed Mother. What did that mean? It meant that you had a statue of the Blessed Mother, and then during the month of May, there would be flowers surrounding that statue. And it was a shrine.
I remember that, yeah.
Was it a famous shrine? No, but it was a shrine.
Right.
So a shrine basically is a holy place where people can offer prayers and be reminded of what they're praying for by the statue or whatever the case might be. So the designation is not so much a designation that's a physical designation. Like right here in our town, we have the shrine of the Little Flower, St. Teresa, whose feast day comes up very soon. But anyway, the shrine of the Little Flower is a holy place where people could come and pray. But the designation is a minor basilica. That's what it is.
We also have the shrine of the now blessed Solanus Casey.
Again, it's a holy place where people
Detroit,
could come,
yes.
and you could touch maybe the relics of his remains and so on and so forth. It's a holy place. It invites people of faith to go and offer their prayers.
But you don't expect people to hope that they walk out cured, do you?
Well, it depends on the individual's faith. No, you don't expect it, but if a person's faith, and this is where I do believe, although I don't expect it, it's always a surprise, I do believe that nothing is impossible with God. And I believe that throughout history, many people have been healed. They never made a big deal out of it. However, because of their faith, they've been healed to do other things in life.
Well, with that said, do you believe in miracles? The answer, Father Joe, is...
Yes.
Okay. An firm yes.
Definitely, but not in a trite way, huh?
Don't do that, because now you make me want to go back and ask another question, and we've run out of time. Hi, everybody, it's Ken Calvert, and we'd like to thank Hoot McInerney Star Lincoln for being a proud supporter of the Father Joe Grimaldi podcast. Very few people knew that Hoot quietly provided for the church in many, many ways. If there was a need, Hoot McInerney was there to help. His love of faith, his family, and especially his customers defy comparison. Hoot was simply put legendary. Now, Hoot put that same passion into Hoot McInerney Star Lincoln, passion for serving the customers. I'm on my fourth vehicle from Star Lincoln, and the reason is simple. You see, Hoot insisted on the customer's satisfaction and trust over price. That's why Star Lincoln has been selling and servicing the customers for over 50 years. The new Nautilus comes standard with safety extras that otherwise would cost thousands. Blind spot monitoring, lane centering technology for continuous steering support. And your phone? Set it on the center console and it charges wirelessly. It's time for you to get the Star treatment. The free loaners, free pickup and delivery, the immaculate showroom and service area, and of course, the welcoming staff of sales pros. Mention you heard about Star Lincoln on the Father Joe podcast, and you'll get even better savings. It's all at Hoot McInerney Star Lincoln. For 50 years, the legendary jewel among Detroit Lincoln dealerships at 12 Mile and Telegraph in Southfield. On behalf of myself, Ken Calvert, and of course you, Father Joe Grimaldi,
thanks a million for listening.
and we'll see you next time.
Very soon.
You always have to have the last word, don't you?
This is Father Joe Grimaldi, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the Father Joe podcast.
If you'd like, you can email us. It's frjoepodcast @gmail.com. That's frjoepodcast @gmail.com. We're also on Facebook. Simply search Father Joe Grimaldi. And thanks for listening, everyone.